I'm Marin, and this is Post-its and Pens. Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. Today's video is going to be my January reading recap where I will go over all of the books that I read in the month of January and let you know my thoughts and ultimate ratings. So let's go ahead and get into the video. First of all, I am going to go ahead and run through the books that I was supposed to read in January and let you know if I read them. I am going to start with the books that were on my Wheel of TBR for January. So those are the ones that, you know, we're really kind of keeping track of to see if I got to. So the first one that I was supposed to read was Brazen, which was a random letter generator for the letter O, and I did read that. The second book was Real Easy by Marie Rutkowski, which was my mystery pick. I did not read this in January, however, I did read another mystery book, so that prompt was also completed, just not with the book that I thought it was going to be. The second spin was a sci-fi book, and I said I would read the little novella, The Little Android, written by Marissa Meyer, and I changed that though, and I switched it for the whole set of novellas, which is entitled Stars Above, and I did read that. The next spin was for initials on the cover, my initials specifically, M and B, and for that I chose Mortal Heart because we have the M here and the B here, and I did read this. And the last one was for a lowest rating book, the lowest rated on my TBR on Goodreads, which was Again by Lockhart, and I did read that. So, successful January Wheel of TBR, if I do say so myself. And on top of those books, I read several others. So what I did this time, I rated them from my least favorite to my most favorite, and I'm just gonna run through them and give you kind of a very quick synopsis. I am going to try to make this video as quick as possible because there are 11 books, so this could drag on. So let's just go ahead and roll on into them. Okay, for the month of January, my least favorite book was Invincible by Dawn Metcalf. I still gave this one 3 stars, but y'all, I had a very hard time with this book. It just did not work for me the way the previous books in that series had worked for me. It is a fairy series, and I really loved the romance in the first 3 books, and part of my issue with the 4th book was that the pairing, the 2 characters, spent the majority of the time apart from each other, and I just did not love that. I had a very hard time getting into the story, and I actually skimmed a lot of the book and read like the last 100 pages because I just wanted to cross it off the list. I gave it 3 stars because I'm not sure if it was really the book's fault or if it was my fault, but yeah, definitely disappointing and my least favorite book of the month. Coming in at number 10 was my first Nancy Drew book of 2022. If you watched my goals video, you'll know that I'm going to try to read a Nancy Drew book each month. This was the first one. It is the first Nancy Drew book, and it was The Secret of the Old Clock by Carolyn Keene. This is not objectively a good book. It's not well written. The mystery was pretty flat. Nancy is very like one-dimensional, not kind of bland and boring, but there was a nostalgia thing that I still loved about it. The nostalgia factor definitely helped me with this one. I gave it 3 stars. It probably deserves less, but you know, I can't in my heart give Nancy Drew less than that because that was one of the series that got me into reading, but it definitely was one of the worst books that I read in the month. Not, you know, terrible, just not as great as some of the others. So that was number 10. Okay, coming in at number 9 was Winterkeep by Kristin Cashore. This is a book that I'm not sure really needed to be written. This is the 4th book in her Graceling series. I really enjoyed the first 3 books a lot. I read them last year, and this was the last one that's been released, so it finishes a series. It is one of my 22 series to finish in 2022, so yay for that. But this was very long, and it didn't seem to have the same type of writing as the previous 3 books. So these are very much fantasy books. The characters speak like you would expect in a fantasy book. And then it got to this 4th one, and it was like she completely changed the style of how the characters were speaking. I was not in love with one of the point of view characters, Louisa. And really what kept me going was the chapters from the Fox's point of view adventure, the Fox. So I gave this one 3 stars. Not really a book that I feel like needed to be written. There were some parts that were enjoyable, but yeah, I would recommend giving this one a pass, honestly, if you like the Graceling series. This one really doesn't add anything to the series, in my opinion. Okay, coming in at number 8. This is an unpopular opinion, y'all. Sorry. It is Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman. I didn't hate it. This series is just not my favorite. I went in depth about this in my series reading vlog, which I will link up above. Heartstopper is the very first book that I read in that video, so you can check that out if you want more of my thoughts about it. But as I said in that video, this is a very important series. I'm glad it's being written. I'm glad it's available for people who need to see and read about these characters to know they're not alone. I love the representation, but I just don't think this series is amazing. And yeah, that's how I feel about this one. So I gave this one 3 stars. It's the lowest rating that I've given any of them thus far. I do want to finish the series, but it's just not a favorite, and there's not much I can do about that. Sorry, y'all. Coming in at number 7 was Mortal Heart by LaFevers. This one is the 3rd and final book in the His Fair Assassin trilogy, and it follows a group of female assassins who follow the god of death, Mortan, and they're marked by him, and they carry out his bidding. They are part of a convent. The convent brings them up and teaches them like their assassin skills. And this follows Aneth, who was not my favorite of the ladies. Book 1 followed Ismay, loved that one. Book 2 followed Sibylla, loved that one. This one just kind of fell a little bit flat and took forever for me to get into. Now, I did end up giving it 4 stars because once Aneth meets up with Ismay and Sibylla, the book really picks up. I did enjoy the romance and kind of the twists and turns, but it was just very, very slow, and I had to actually start listening to this one on audio to like get into it. So because of that, it's not going to rate as high as the previous 2. I gave this one 4 stars. It was a very good ending to the series, but not my favorite. Coming in at number 6 for January was Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. This was actually on my 21 books to read in 2021 list, so obviously I did not accomplish that. I had to carry that over into January, but I really, really enjoyed this one. I don't think it's fantastic. I gave it 4 stars. I did like the romance. It's very slow burn. Yelena goes through some growth and really comes into herself and finds herself, which I really, really enjoyed. And the whole setup of the world was very intriguing. I will be reading the next book in the series, which I think, yeah, it's called Magic Study. So yeah, this was a fun one. This is kind of light fantasy, not very thick, which is my jam, and I enjoyed it. So 4 stars for this one. Okay, coming in at number 5 is Rogue by Gina Damico. This is another book that I talked about in my series vlog, which I've already linked above. It is the 3rd and final book in the Croak trilogy, which follows Lex and her band of misfits, if you will. They are reapers who are supposed to go around and reap the souls of the dead and take them into the afterlife. And the 3rd book, Rogue, was quite a bit darker than the first 2. This series is like dark humor. Obviously, it's revolving around death. The first 2 books were like laugh out loud funny though. The third one was really not. It was much darker in tone, but I still really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic ending to the trilogy, and I would highly recommend this series if you have not checked it out. It is older. I think some people are sleeping on it, but you should give it a read because they're really, really great. I gave this one 4 stars. Coming in at number 4 was the book that was for the prompt lowest rating. It had a rating of 3.19 on Goodreads, so I was a little nervous, and that is Again by E. Lockhart. But y'all, I love this book. I thought it was very like bittersweet. It uses like the concept of like the multiverse. So you're following this girl who meets this guy. She's broken up with her boyfriend, and it has these things where like this could have happened, or this could have happened, or this could have happened in each scenario. So it would kind of do it like without warning, which took a little bit of getting used to, particularly listening to it on audio. But I loved it, and I especially loved the last like couple of chapters. They made me cry. I honestly don't know why it has such low ratings. Maybe it's like that, the fact that it jumps timelines without warning, but it's easy enough to follow in my opinion, and this was a very good book. I would definitely recommend this one. Don't let the ratings scare you. It was worth it, and I gave it 4 stars. Okay, coming into my top 3. At number 3 was Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. This is a collection of novellas set in her Lunar Chronicles universe, and I enjoyed it. I especially liked the last story, which brings all of the characters that you've grown to love back together to celebrate Scarlet and Wolf's wedding. So loved it. Would definitely recommend it if you're a fan of the Lunar Chronicles. There were some nice pieces. You get a look at Cinder when she was younger. You get a look at Scarlet's grandmother. You get a look at Cress when she was first put into the satellite. That one was pretty sad and heartbreaking. You have this random one, the little android, which was like a Little Mermaid-ish retelling, sort of, which didn't really fit with anything else, but I still enjoyed it. And then you have that final one where all of the characters come back together. So I really, really enjoyed this one. Oh, there was also a story about Wolf. I'd read that one previously, so I skipped that one here. But yeah, would definitely recommend that little set of novellas if you are a fan of the Lunar Chronicles, because it did kind of answer some questions, gave you some backstory, particularly the one about Scarlet's grandmother, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Okay, coming in at number 2 is my one and only 5-star read for the month of January. I will explain why it's not number 1 in a minute, and that is Brazen, Women Who Rocked the World by Penelope Bagieu. I don't know how to pronounce that. She's French. I'm sorry. I liked this book a lot. She did not just take women that we were already familiar with and write about. She found women from history that aren't well known. There were several in this series that I had never heard of before, and I loved all of the stories. The artwork is stunning. Not only like the comic parts for each person, but then she would do like a full illustrative spread, which they were gorgeous. I gave this one 5 stars. Would highly recommend this one. Very easy to read and get through. I loved learning about women that I'd never heard of before, and I definitely recommend this one. And coming in at number 1 was the book that I substituted for my mystery pick on my Wheel of TBR, and that is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. Y'all, I sat down and read this book in one go, stayed up to like 2 a.m. to finish it. I loved this book. Now, I only gave it 4 stars because the ending left me a little unimpressed, but that did not diminish the rest of the story. This is a very well-crafted, well-paced thriller. Twists and turns everywhere. I did not see the main big twist coming at all, and I just thoroughly enjoyed this one. This story is told with like flashbacks to the past to give you like some backstory, and then it would kind of come back to the present, and it just was wonderfully done, in my opinion. I loved this book, and I think that I know I liked it much better than I'd liked her YA book, so that gives me hope that I will also like, what is it, The Wife Upstairs, which I have not read. So yeah, definitely recommend Reckless Girls. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Was my favorite book of the month. And the reason it is in front of Brazen is because of how compulsively readable it was. I did not want to put the book down until it was over. So that right there tells you how much I loved it, because I typically don't have trouble putting a book down and taking a break. And I did not want to do that with this one. So check that one out. Highlight of the month for me. Amazing. And that is the end of my January, oh my, I almost said December, January reading recap. Let me know if we share any similar thoughts on any of these books. If you've read any of these books, comment down below and let me know. I would love to hear from you. If you are not following me, or subscribed to me rather, please consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye everyone.